the first domino fell yesterday with the Ivy League's announcement that they were canceling all fall sports, not going to do anything until at least 2021. What was your initial reaction once their announcement came out?
Well, as you know, there was discussion about it for the last, probably week to 10 days, that it was kind of inevitable that that's what they were going to do. I think that, it didn't come as a surprise as much as, kind of the finality of it for them, certainly makes you think and ponder a little bit about, why they made the decision they did. And, I'll look forward to, sometime here in the next couple of days connecting with their commissioner. Actually, she's an executive director, as they call it there, and talking some more in detail about what they're doing and why. And so, yeah, it's the first conference to do it. I think there might be a couple other conferences that fall in line with that here in the next week or so. And I think the rest of the country will just continue to discuss what's going on and make decisions as each conference kind of sees fit based upon their own situation.
Right. Is there a scenario where the Big Sky Conference considers the actions of other leagues when making their decision regarding fall sports, or are you guys operating completely independently?
No, I think we're very intertwined, especially out west here. I think us, the Pac-12 and Mountain West, because of our football teams and the non-conference games that we play against each other, the number of those, I think there is going to be quite a bit of coordination and discussion. We're not on an island. College athletics is tied together, and while the Ivy League is way on the East Coast, it's still one of the 32 member conferences, and like I said, if a couple others follow, then we'll continue to monitor the marketplace. We'll continue to talk both amongst our presidents and our athletic directors, and I'll continue to talk with my fellow commissioners, and that way, my role here is, certainly to gather information and to get that into the hands of our decision makers, and then when we feel it's time to make a decision, one way or the other, there's multiple options at play. That's when we'll make a decision.
What are the biggest factors that the decision makers have to consider for this fall?
So, certainly, above all of this is the health and safety of everyone involved. Players, coaches, fans, staff, all the things go into that. But overriding all of this is each of our campuses opening in a safe way. And I think every president right now is making, is working those paths to a decision about what does campus look like in Bozeman and Missoula for the state of Montana, and then our other, 9 full-time member institutions. Each president is working with local health officials and people on campus to make those decisions about, what are the dorms going to look like, and how do you socially distance in classrooms, those types of things. So all of those decisions are because have to happen, in a certain time frame, because we can have campus open without athletics. We can't have athletics with a campus closed. So the first decision and the work that's going on every campus right now is, what does campus look like in the fall? And then parallel to that is the decisions about athletics. Right. When do we bring our student athletes back to campus to start practice? And it's football, it's volleyball, it's soccer, it's cross country, it's all of the fall sports of when do we bring those student athletes back, and how do we protect them so they can still have a good experience as a student athlete, but also protect the people around them from the virus.
As far as the student athletes themselves, we've started to see some from different universities and conferences start to raise their concerns on social media about their safety, and they're questioning the decisions being made. Have you seen or heard anything from the Big Sky Conference student athletes?
I think underlying all of the discussion that we have is the realization that our student athletes are concerned about health and safety as well. And so, we do continue our discussions with our Student Athlete Advisory Committee as a conference. We have 2 members from each school that's part of that. They're meeting on a weekly basis and talking about these things and how they're feeling and how they're doing. So much of a student athlete's life in college is intertwined with their team and that sense of belonging, and that's part of what makes athletics so great. And so, obviously they're very, anxious and excited to get back at it, but just like us, they're also thinking about their health and safety as well. So we certainly take all that into consideration and rely on them to give us feedback as to how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Is there a deadline that you guys are kind of have out there for later this month or next month where you have to make a final decision?
We're really targeting towards the end of this month of July, because that is when our student athletes, specifically football, would be reporting, is right around the 1st of August to campus for practice. And so, I think that we'll need to make some decision by then, because what we don't want to do is get our student athletes there, have them there for 2 weeks, and then have to send them home. Right. So, we'd rather have it done at least with the best information we have around that time. And that's why I think we'll make some of those decisions, in communication with other conferences. And in a lot of our states, and we're in 8 different states, so in a lot of our states, our presidents are in the same system as schools in the Mountain West and the Pac-12. And so those discussions are happening at various levels around the West. So, I feel like we'll be able to make a good decision with the best information we have at the time near the end of the month.
What are the scenarios, I guess, that the conference is considering or discussing at this point?
Yeah, everything's on the table, from, start and go full speed ahead to a delayed start, to moving all the things to spring. Everything's on the table right now, and we feel like that gives us the widest range of opportunities to make decisions. Now, obviously, we'll have to narrow those down as we get closer to August 1st, but right now, everything's on the table.
As the commissioner, you mentioned 8 states. Is there a scenario where you could see schools from some states proceeding with the season and other schools not, or is it going to be a one size fits all for the conference?
I think where I feel like we're heading to right now is that we have states that kind of are all over the map, but most of them have an increased level of cases right now. Nobody's really trending downward. So I think where that puts us is it's easier for all of us to kind of be in the same place as we get closer to make that decision. Now, if there is some sizable type of shifts in the marketplace, shifts with the numbers, if we start to trend downward in some places, then maybe some schools could be in a different spot. But right now here, in the first part of July, I think our 11 schools are in the same places, which is how do we safely open campus, and then how do we safely have intercollegiate athletics in the fall.
If you guys decide that there cannot be fall sports, what are the feasibility of moving them to the spring?
Well, I think it could happen. It's messy, and scheduling becomes quite a crazy thing. But many of our schools have guarantee games with Power 5 or Group of 5 schools. For example, Montana State's playing down here at Utah in September, and if the conferences out west kind of decide to move everything to spring, and Utah tells Montana State that game's going to happen on March 7th, just picking a date out there, Montana State would probably be there to play that game. So, like I said, I think that there's a lot happening in the space. We could make it work. It's not pretty, but nonetheless, our schools, certainly want to be open. They want to have intercollegiate athletics, and we want to find a way to make that happen.